Hey guys, Andrew McFarlane here from StartAJuiceBar.com. Hope you are feeling amazing, and today I want to answer a question that I get pretty often, and it's definitely something that you guys should be concerned about. And the question is, how long from the time that I want to start my juice bar, and maybe we can say, sign your lease, because that's a pretty significant checkpoint. How long should it take you to actually be open? And before I get into that, I want to say thank you to everyone who has subscribed to the channel, anyone who's liking the videos, commenting in the comment box below. Really appreciate your feedback and your support, and I'm glad to hear that the content is supportive to you. And if you haven't clicked the notification button, there's a bell up top, and that will make sure that you guys get alerted anytime there's new content being released. You'll be the first to see it. And so let's dive right in. Now, this is a great question, and as I'm sure you've heard me say many times, it has a potentially not simple answer. It's maybe a more nuanced answer. And the reality is that there's a number of factors that you have to be aware of when it comes to launching your business, and you want to make sure that on your end, certain things are in place even before you sign your lease. So what would those things be? To make sure that you save time. Your menu, right? Costing your menu out, finding your vendors. This is going to really help you so that way when the time comes around and you have your location, you can focus on things that are contingent to that location. Now, in terms of how long it's going to take you, I can give you a spread. We've had clients that unfortunately have taken up to even a year to open their businesses, and now these are usually really, really big spaces with really big menus, and that's on the long side. On the shortest side, we had a client once that was able to open in about 2.5 months. Now that's extremely fast. Now in our experience, usually you want to plan for 4 to 6 months. 4 months being pretty good, 6 months being like, okay, now you're in the longer end of the spectrum when it comes to opening. So just to give you that insight, and with this, sometimes people might say, oh, well, I want to plan out what's the best time of year to open. How can I strategically put that together? You won't be able to control it. There's so many things that go into building out a space. If you want to make sure that you get into your space quickly, best thing to do is to find a space that doesn't need a ton of work, because obviously the more work you have to do on a location, the more time that it's going to take you, because you've got to draw up plans, submit plans, hire your contractor, your architect. All those things are involved with the process of opening, and sometimes it's just something that you have to do, which is okay. It's part of the process as well, but I want to give you guys a realistic time frame so that you guys don't have this idea that you have the idea today to start a juice business and then 2 weeks later you're going to have your business open. It's great, it's idealistic, it's ambitious, but it's not realistic. You got to be planning for at least a 4-month cycle if this is something that you can put a lot of time and attention into from the time that you sign your lease until the time that you actually open your business. Now, what I want to talk about in this moment is, what are the elements that can hold you up in this process? One is, normally what we see is if you're in a bigger city, New York, LA, it can take a while for cities to respond to your project. Meaning you submit plans and the city might come back to you 2 weeks or 3 weeks later and say, oh, we disapproved your plans, you need to change this, this, and this. And then you go ahead and you make those changes, and then you submit the plans again, and then it's usually a shorter duration of time since they've already seen your plans, but it could be another week before they get back to you and approve them or give you feedback. And so the process of going back and forth with submitting plans can be a time-consuming one. So what are the things that you can do to shorten this time and avoid this? Be aware of the architect that you hire, because they're the ones that are generally submitting the plans to the city. Make sure that this is an architect who has bandwidth. When you are hiring them, interview them and find out. Are you extremely busy? How many clients do you have? How quickly do you usually draw up plans and get submissions and respond to? Get clear on this and find out from them firsthand. Usually larger architectural firms one, not only are they more expensive, but sometimes they're slower. Now, I don't want to make a broad generalization because there are companies out there that are large that are also quick. And so those two things aren't mutually exclusive, but it is important to be aware of how quickly is your architect going to respond to any plan changes that need to be made, or even just getting the first round of plans submitted. The next thing is, because you can't really control your city, unfortunately, unless that architect has a really great relationship with people inside of the city, which sometimes that is the case. They can have things move along a little bit faster. But the next thing is looking at your contractor. Now, when it comes to building out your space, a lot of these contractors are going to have teams of different sizes. And so sometimes contractors, in order to get jobs, will tell you, oh yeah, we can build this thing out in 4 weeks. But they just tell you that because they know that once you sign the contract and once they have your deposit, you're not going to fire them in the middle of the project. It's just too much, it's too time consuming, it's too expensive, it's too arduous. And so they might tell you 4 weeks, and really they already know that it's going to take you 3 weeks to build the place out. And so you have to be curious as to how many people are they going to put on your project. So ask them clearly, not only are you getting very clear bids, and those bids and stages should have timelines attached to them. So it's not just a general scope of, hey, it's going to take us 4 weeks, but they should tell you, okay, for us to do the flooring, it's going to take this amount of time. For us to do the framing and drywall, it's going to take this amount of time. The electrical, the finishes, it's going to take, and they actually have it broken down as well as the correlation between each item and the price. But ask them realistically, okay, how many people are going to be on the project per day? Who's the project manager? How is this thing actually going to unfold? And this is one of the major benefits that I find that clients have with working with us, is that we know realistically, one, not only how much things should cost, but two, how much time certain things should take based on the size of your space, because we've been through it so many times. And so that can save you a ton of money, not only on rent, but also just looking at the fact that your contracting is one of the biggest expenditures. You're going to invest anywhere from, probably on the low side, $60,000 up to a few $100,000 just building your place out. And so actually knowing that you're getting market prices is really, really important. But two, also knowing how to manage contractors, because if you haven't had this experience before, you might not know what the proper dynamic is in terms of making sure that they're accountable and they're responsible for the things that they said that they're going to be responsible for. And so these are the major things, the 3 things that I just mentioned. Who you hire as an architect and the kind of bandwidth they have. 2, the city that you're dealing with, which you can't really control. And then 3, the contractor that you're working with, and how many people they're putting on their project. And how do you vet these contractors? How do you make sure that they are going to do what they say they're going to do? And that's a matter of getting referrals and making sure that you ask 2 primary questions. Did they finish on time, and did they finish on budget? Those are the 2 questions you want to ask from other people who they've worked with. And so those are the 3 things that you really want to look at. And then the 4th thing, which I'll kind of add as a little bonus, is are the things that you can control done? Because you don't ever want people waiting on you when it comes to, let's say, putting the equipment list together. It should be your responsibility. And these are all things that we support our clients with, because a lot of times it's hard. How can you know what equipment you actually need? Because you've never done this before. And so if you need support, as always, reach out to us. You can reach me personally at Andrew@StartAJuiceBar.com. Would be happy to have that conversation with you. And I hope this video has given you some insight into, one, what the realistic time frame is for launching a juice business, and then also giving you some tips on how you can really save time in that process, because as we know, time is money, and you don't want to get to the point where you are burning money in extra rent when you really could be putting that money towards things that are going to help you make more money and grow your business, like staffing or decor or just having more reserve capital. So if you like the video, press the like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, you should definitely do that. And if you have any questions or comments, put it in the comment box below. Follow us on Instagram. And if you haven't yet heard, we have a podcast on iTunes, Juice Bar Experts. You can check us out there, and you can listen to us while you're driving and otherwise. And so this is Andrew McFarland, wishing you a lot of success, and we'll see you guys at the next video.